Now, a look at recent trips to Fort Wayne Zoo with Wild on WANE.
Thanks for joining us on WANE 15 Plus. I'm Alyssa Ivinson. In the next half hour, we'll explore the people and animals at Fort Wayne Zoo through our Wild on WANE stories. One of the favorite stops for many visitors to the zoo is the orangutan exhibit. 4 of the great apes call Fort Wayne home, and they're great ambassadors for their species in the wild, which is critically endangered.
Four Sumatran orangutans spend their days swinging through the vines in the Asian trek inside the Fort Wayne Children's Zoo.
Asmara is our youngest. She's going to be 10 years old in November, and she is the daughter of Tanku and Tara. Tanku is the big male, and then Tara is our other female. She's 29. Tanku just turned 38. And then we have Melody, who is our oldest female, and she's going to be 40.
The great apes captivate guests.
They are very relatable. So if they're watching Asmara pester Tanku or pester Tara, they're like, oh my gosh, I deal with that every day with my kids.
They're incredibly smart.
And we try to keep them occupied and keep their brains working throughout the day. So we'll give them all kinds of different things. We really try to encourage their natural behaviors. So the majority of their day is going to be spent out in the wild finding food and traveling. So we call them over to our window throughout the day to travel over, come get some diet. They'll go off and eat it at their own pace. We do puzzle feeders. We give artificial bamboo tubes. So it's PVC that looks like bamboo, and then we'll drip honey in it. And then they have to use a stick or something to get in there and get that honey. So that takes them a while.
And the exhibit is designed especially for orangutans.
Specifically for arboreal apes. Orangutans live in the trees their entire lives. They don't come down to the swampy, flooded ground in Sumatra. So we built this habitat to simulate that and to keep them up and using their muscles and everything that they need to be healthy orangutans. You see them swinging and climbing around. They'll rest, but they'll rest up in a tree. And those core muscles that they use to do that are totally different than if you're just laying on the ground not worrying about falling. And so that's exactly what they have to do out in the rainforest.
That's why the zoo will flood the floor to simulate the Sumatran swamps.
But we also work on things like dexterity. So we'll drop stuff from the skylights in the water, and they'll go down and have to pick up kernels of corn and spend some time doing that.
In the wild, orangutans are only found in Southeast Asia. There are 3 species, and all are critically endangered.
International Orangutan Day is August 19th every year, and it's just a way to bring attention to the plight of the critically endangered orangutans. You hear about orangutans and you see them places, but we really try to explain to them that they're on the other side of the world in such a small location that is really being threatened by a lot of habitat fragmentation because of roads or palm oil plantations. Amazingly, there's still pet trade going on, and so animals are being captured for that, and it's really threatening to them. So we really try hard to educate everybody on the plight of the orangutans. And International Orangutan Day is just a really good opportunity to be able to share that and share our love of the orangutans with everybody else.
The zoo celebrating the International Day a little early with some decorations and special fruit treats. Part of every zoo admission ticket goes to help their wild counterparts. And the zoo hopes seeing the apes up close, looking in their eyes, will inspire guests to help even more. So orangutans are around for generations to come.
One thing you can do to help orangutans in the wild is be more intentional about making sustainable palm oil choices. The zoo also supports the Orangutan Conservancy. Their website estimates if nothing is done, orangutans would be extinct in the wild in just 25 years. Another endangered species at the zoo is the Sumatran tiger. The zoo has 2 of the big cats, and last year, Wild on WANE went to the forest observation area as the tigers got some special treats.
Meet Sumatran tiger siblings, brother Bugara and sister Inda.
They are 12 years old and they are twins, but they were born just a little bit apart, technically on separate days, so Bugara and Inda both get their own birthday parties.
While their birthdays are coming up in August, the special treats the tiger twins got when Wild on WANE visited were just part of their enrichment.
Ready Whip is a very special treat, so they only get that on certain occasions, but they do get a lot of ice treats. So that's part of their enrichment. It helps them simulate those hunting activities, searching for things, smelling things out, and then once they get to it, they get to tear it apart, they get to bite into it, they get to lick it so that they are also grooming themselves afterwards. It's a really easy way for us to keep them cool and hydrated while also giving them some mental stimulation. So the two things that I put out today were blood ice treats. So it's got blood, water, and a little bit of meat chunks in it. So that's what Bugara is mainly focusing on. But the other one that I put out was fish juice with water and herring in it. And of course, cats spend a lot of their time napping, but what they do is they get that enrichment, they lick it, they have a lot of fun, and then they'll take a nap.
Before the tigers get the treats, the keepers do what's called a red key system to make sure it's safe to enter the exhibit.
So we have two people with two different sets of keys manipulating two different types of locks. So one person could never go in with the tigers. So it's just an extra safety precaution, and we reset their environment, we relock everything, ask each other if we feel safe, we check the locks again, and then we would shift the tigers off. And having two people is really important so that you're talking to somebody, you're talking through what you're doing, you're not just blindly going in with muscle memory or anything like that. It's always two people communicating, making sure that everyone feels safe, making sure there's two sets of eyes so that it's as safe as it can possibly be.
Sumatran tigers usually weigh 200 to 300 pounds and are found on the island of Sumatra, east of Indonesia. The tigers are critically endangered.
It's hard to get a perfect estimate of how many Sumatran tigers are left in the wild, but there is a rough range of about 300 to 600, but there also is the potential that there are less than 300 Sumatran tigers left in the wild.
The big cats are beautiful and a favorite with zoo visitors, but it's important to also think about the bigger picture.
When people come to the zoo to see them, we really need to value that we still have them, since they are such a critically endangered species, and there is so many things that humans can do to prevent their extinction, since humans are the largest part of why they are critically endangered, between the deforestation, the poaching, and just general human conflict around tigers in their natural habitat. I think it's amazing for people to come see them, and they're so cool, and it's great because they're so interesting to look at, but it's also important for everyone to see. We have signs out here that say what is affecting them, how it's affecting them, how many tigers are left. We have keepers that come out and do keeper chats to talk about what's affecting them and how it's affecting them. It would be really nice for people to come to a zoo and say, like, that was beautiful, but how can I preserve that?
Right next to the tiger habitat is the zoo's endangered species carousel. Let's go into the Wild on WANE archives to meet one of the men who keeps the ride going round.
Ride the carousel at the Fort Wayne Children's Zoo.
The ride is 4 minutes long. The speed of our carousel is 12.3 miles per hour.
And 4 days a week,
Thank you. Have a good day.
Fred Blakely will be at the controls.
So many people just call me Fred, and I wish I knew their names, but I don't. Too many.
Fred's been retired for 20 years, but 5 years ago decided to work at the zoo.
And I said, I love the carousel. I'd like to operate it. He said, you're hired. He said, nobody likes it because of the music, and they don't like the music. So I said, I love the music. And so I said, this is a dream job for me.
His love for the carousel
Enjoy your ride.
helps make every ride special.
Be here forever, probably.
From fun facts
36 animals. These are solid wood, carved and glued together, and then they're sanded down and painted. So this is very, very unique and antique. 357 light bulbs on the carousel. We do have a treasure on the carousel, which is the King's Crown. Some people get off and say, no, I didn't find it. And I say, well, you have to look up. The humidity has an effect on the carousel. The higher the humidity, the longer it takes to stop. It is balanced so well. If there's more weight on one side than the other, it'll go backwards until that weight is balanced out.
To finding answers.
One little boy, before he got on, said, how many times do I go around the carousel on my ride? And I said, oh, wow, I don't know. So I counted them, and when he got off, I said, you went around 17 times. And he said, oh, I had fun anyway.
Has made Fred Fort Wayne famous.
When I go out to the grocery store, I've had kids come up and say, oh, he runs a carousel. And the mom comes over and says, you do run the carousel, we've been to the zoo. And that's happened several times. I was surprised.
Fred fills his day with fun.
We were the first zoo in the United States to have an endangered species carousel. And I always tell people that on the mic. And I say, we are proud of that record. And I always say thank you for your applause, but I don't get any.
Sharing smiles.
When they get off, they always say, I enjoyed the ride, thank you. And when they wave and say that, it makes me happy.
Making a ride on the carousel extra memorable.
Bye. Have a good day. Thank you. Bye. Have a good day. Thank you. Have a good day.
Animal feedings are a fun way to learn more about the animals at the zoo. And in the Australian adventure, you can meet two kinds of stingrays. As we find out in this Wild on WANE, you are in the splash zone. What are we about to do today?
Okay, so we are going to be doing a stingray feeding. So you've never done this before?
I've not, and I'm a little nervous, I'm not gonna lie.
So each of our cups of food that a guest can purchase, they're gonna get a couple of small pieces of food. This is just to kind of represent how you're gonna do it. So when you get your piece of food, and it could be herring, shrimp, squid, all sorts of stuff, you'll put it flat on your hand, and you'll put your thumb just gently over it and lower it into the water. And our stingrays, they're kind of like the Roombas of the ocean. You're gonna feel a gentle suction, and you'll just lift that thumb. Another option is you can just slide it right down the glass between your fingers.
Okay, and they do the rest. They just
They
slurp
do
it
the
up.
rest. They sure do. You can see they are ready. They're moving around. So we can go ahead and get some food if you want to try feeding them.
Okay, let's do it.
So I'll start you off with a fish head there.
Fish head.
Yep, so they get capelin, herring, shrimp, all sorts of food, and then you'll just want to put it flat on that hand.
He did it. And they're kind of smooth.
They are smooth. So they have a very smooth skin. They're related to other animals like sharks and skates. And that smoothness is going to help them glide through the water and kind of get around all those things on the ocean floor.
He's not very happy with my feeding.
Our vet staff does trim those stingers about 3 or 4 times a year. It's just like cutting our fingernails. It doesn't hurt them or anything.
There you go.
There you go.
Do you want to do some, JR?
So weird. We have 13 of the cow nose rays. So those are the ones you're feeding right up front with those curvier faces. And then we have 4 of our southern stingrays. So our southerns are a lot larger. You can identify them from their color, and they're a little more stationary. You might see them kind of hanging out at one spot, whereas the cow nose rays are really swimming on through. We have a young one out there, Seraphina. She's about a year old. She is our newest stingray. So we are part of a species survival plan with stingrays. So they do breed, and we had a baby here at the zoo pretty recently. They're what's called ovoviviparous, which means they have an egg, but it hatches inside of them. So they do have a live birth after that egg develops inside.
Okay.
These ones are actually going to be along the southern United States, like in the Caribbean. And that would be both of these species. Their eyes are up front, you're seeing their gills, and then on their bottom is their mouth. Kind of looks like
Yeah.
a smiley face when they're up against the glass, so they're very happy to be eating.
And do they have teeth, or is that more like filaments?
They do have teeth. Their teeth are pretty different from ours. They're more of like a grinding tooth. So what they're gonna do out in the wild in like a mangrove forest like this, they would find things like lobster or clams, and they're gonna use those teeth to grind and break those shells open. Which is also why it's so important for all of us to make sure we're keeping like trash and stuff out of the ocean, because they are swimming around looking for things with their mouth, sensing it, and just kind of using those teeth to grind. They can actually sense our electrical currents in the water. So they are, if they're coming up to us, they get to choose that. If they feel like they want to stay away, they know our arm is in there. So it's hard to know if they enjoy it or not, but they definitely are choosing when they're coming up and when they're staying back.
Stingray feedings happen twice a day at 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. You can sign up ahead of time on the zoo's website or on site. Sticking with aquatics, feeding the fish in the reef aquarium is quite the experience. Wild on WANE got to go behind the scenes to see how they feed and train the fish and sharks.
Experience the peacefulness under the sea and behind the scenes on the ocean's wild encounter at the zoo.
Here, this is our coral tank.
The zoo's growing several species of soft corals to help rebuild the ocean's population.
Having them in the aquarium is to learn about what helps them grow. Here in the wild, we experience, heating up water temperatures, those sorts of events that are actually damaging the corals pretty badly. So a lot of people think that corals are plants, but these guys actually have symbiotic bacteria that live inside of them. They're a type of algae. They're called zooxanthellae, and that's what gives the corals their beautiful color. But unfortunately, when water temperatures get too high, when waters aren't pristine enough, those zooxanthellae will actually leave the corals, and that contributes to coral bleaching. So if you see corals in the wild that are white and kind of look a little rubbly, that zooxanthellae has left because this water was not suitable for them. People should care about corals because they are a really important part to our ecosystem. Out in the ocean, coral reefs are a huge habitat for reef fish, but without the coral reef, we're going to have trouble seeing babies and juvenile fish. And without those larger fish, when they grow up into adults, it just travels down the food chain. Next time you take your beach vacation, do not disturb the corals. Corals are animals and we need to treat them with respect. These are our red claw Australian yabbies. This is actually the only freshwater system we have in the aquarium. They are like a species of crayfish. They usually don't get very active until later in the evening, around 4 or 5 p.m. She's very interested in you guys right now. They get fed twice a day, and they eat a wide variety of foods. So some of the stuff we feed them that they really, really like is shrimp. That's one of their favorites. We also feed them smelt, which is a little lake minnow. They go nuts for that. Veggies that they get as well, so they like to eat peas, spinach, and broccoli. So when we have birthday parties here at the zoo, we're actually able to remove the yabbies from the tank, bring them down to the party room, and let the children interact with them.
The main tank, where around 30 species of fish live, looks a lot different from the top.
This tank is about 20,000 gallons of artificial salt water. The 10,000 gallons in the front is what you see here, and then there's an additional 10,000 gallons in the back there. But it is always open for fish who just want a break from the whole community. These two gray cylinders here are what we use for our filtration. So inside those cylinders, there's really tightly compacted sand, and we run the water through it.
So what do we have here?
Today, we have scallops for them. Scallops is one of their favorite, so you guys came on a really good day. They will also get shrimp that's sliced up, and they also get capelin. Caplin's a long silver fish, but they also get veggies too, because we do have omnivores in this tank. So they get lettuce, different types of greens, broccoli. They love broccoli. These are our orbiculate batfish. They are one of the oldest residents here in the reef tank. They have been here for over 20 years.
And some of the chunks are bigger. Is that for some of the bigger fish they can handle those?
Yeah, so the orbiculate batfish as well as the unicorn fish, they love big chunks. They'll kind of put it in their mouth, swim around with it a little bit, work on it a little bit.
Okay.
It also provides good enrichment for them. This is our shark tank back here. We are going to feed our zebra shark Valentine. She is getting shrimp and mussels. She's hanging out now. She's ready. She is trained to come to a station as well as a target. We're going to use her station today. So the difference between a station and a target is when this is dropped in the water. If she's anywhere between 2 and 4 feet to the station, she can receive her food. But if we're using a target with her, we need her to directly touch the target with her nose to receive her food. All right, so I just grab a nice handful of her food, and she touches the target, and she slurps it right out. She is one of the easiest sharks in this tank to feed because she is always hungry and she's always willing to eat. Stick it all the way in. Nice.
Wow.
That was awesome.
And so she's actually like sucking it in?
Yes. So sharks like Valentine, rays do this as well. They use suction as their form of feeding. Now Valentine here, she is 9 years old. She actually just had her birthday last Monday. When they are born, they have stripes like a zebra, so that's where they got their name. But once they grow up into adults, those stripes actually split up into spots.
The other friends in Valentine's tank are also trained.
Our giant grouper Yindi, she's actually trained to eat from a hula hoop. So we will put a floating hula hoop right in the water, and Yindi will swim right up to the hula hoop, and she'll open her mouth, and then we'll drop her squid in, and she'll snap it shut. It's really, really cool to watch. And then the black tip reef sharks, they are also trained, and we will throw that yellow buoy in the water, and that's their station. When they swim by, we can put food in the water for them to eat, but we also do target and clicker training as well.
From fish feeding to a feeding frenzy on the farm. In this Wild on WANE, we find out that chickens and goats are pretty hungry. The Indiana Family Farm is a favorite at the Fort Wayne Children's Zoo, and there are a few new things this year, including taking a seat on the tractor and feeding more of the animals.
They did a really great job of theming in this area, especially with our little farmhouse here.
With ducks and pigs, a donkey, chickens, and goats, you can really get a feel for life on a farm. Helping serve up supper
Little bit of goat kisses to take home with you.
to the goats.
This is Lewis. He looks like he's gonna demonstrate how
Lewis
it's done.
is ready.
Is a fan favorite with the kids.
Good job!
For $1, you get a cup of compressed hay,
Good old grass hay.
and you'll have the goats eating out of your hand.
They don't actually have top teeth like we do. They just have bottom teeth and then an upper gum. So they really can't bite you.
But now the goats
So they use a lot of lip and a lot of tongue. Yeah.
aren't the only ones.
Hello.
Zoo goers can help feed.
Guests are pretty stoked to feed the chickens. I know we live kind of in a rural setting, but I don't think in the city we have a lot of people that have access to chickens. So it is a really fun little thing that we can offer people.
Now kids can interact with the zoo's 23 chickens on a whole new level.
Super up close and personal for sure.
For $1, you get a bowl of special chicken feed.
A special form of scratch grain that's got a bunch of dried fruits and veggies in it, particularly for the feeding. So it's really reinforcing and they really, really love it.
The bowl goes in a special feeding wand
She's so ready.
that goes through the doors into the chicken enclosure, and they do the rest. Frenchie rules the roost and usually gets first dibs.
She is 7 years old now, which is an incredibly old chicken.
There's one rooster named Brewster, and the young hens are around 16 weeks old.
So they're still pretty little, they don't look it.
When Frenchie is finished, they'll dig in.
It was really fun.
10-year-old Marin Fisher was digging it too.
Having like their little talking and they were like moving around like they were real people.
So the age-old farm feeding question, chickens or the goats?
Probably the chickens because I've done the goats like a million times, so I like the new thing.
Both feeding the future.
One of our biggest parts of our mission is connecting children and families to animals. I mean, it sounds really simple, but something like chicken feeding and goat feeding like really helps make that connection. And the hope obviously is we make those connections, and then further on down the line, it'll inspire people to take action and help conserve, our native species or even species around the world. So, little impact, it goes a long way. So that's our big goal with these feedings.
You can find feeding times and prices for the chickens and goats in the farm area at the zoo. Sticking with feeding the animals theme, gator country may be down south, but Wild on Wayne got up close and personal with the American alligator at the zoo. The zoo has two American alligators, Ron and Penelope. During our trip to the zoo, Penelope is busy with her nesting behaviors, but we got to meet Ron.
This is Ron. This is our 34-year-old male alligator.
We met Ron on one of his feeding days. They only eat a few days a week.
So they get fed frozen wraps, and they also get fed Jell-O.
What's in the Jell-O?
Jell-O, which is unflavored.
Okay.
Unflavored, plain Jell-O. So crocodilians or alligators can get overweight in captivity, so it just is a filler. And they also get these specialized crocodilian biscuits that are made specifically for crocodiles, alligators in general. It has all the nutrients, basically like a Flintstones vitamin.
What's the method in feeding Ron here?
So alligators, whenever they go to eat, they launch from side to side. So anytime you're in front of an alligator is pretty much the safest spot of a gator. So we're gonna throw these biscuits to the side of him, and he's gonna grab those. So if you wanna reach one in, and you're just gonna right to the side of his head.
And just toss it?
Yep, just let it plop. Beautiful. So he's got little black polka dots all over the front of his face, and that tells him where the food is. So those kind of sense pressure and water changes and electrical signals in fish and things like that. So when you throw that biscuit in to the side of his head, he can detect that super quickly.
Should I do same side or other side?
Whichever side you want, yeah. Right behind their eyes, you see their ears. They actually are able to suction cup those ear flaps down when they're underneath the water, so they're nice and watertight. Same thing with their eyes. They have like a nicotinating membrane that closes over. It's kind of like swim goggles. These guys shed their teeth almost annually, so they replace their teeth throughout their lifetime, and then when one pops off, a new one is ready to take its place. So that's why their teeth are always pearly white, because they're constantly replacing those teeth. These guys have the strongest bite force of any animal in the animal kingdom. These guys are trained to open up their mouths, and then Ron is actually trained to do an eye wash behavior. American alligators can get up to 18 feet. Ron here is about 9. These guys mostly use their tail to swim. Their tail makes up almost half the length of their body. It's super muscularized, and so they kind of use that to kind of propel themselves through the water. They do what's called a bellow. If you've ever seen Jurassic Park, the T-Rex call is actually made up of quite a few different animal noises, but alligator bellowing is one of those noises in it. So they do lots of bellows, grunts, growls, chirps, and things like that to communicate, especially males in particular. So when Ron does his bellow, they actually emit a frequency we can't hear. So when they emit it, he actually shoots jets of water off his back because it's a supersonic frequency.
Supersonic, wow.
Supersonic, yes. Super cool. That's why they have those these spikes on them, and it kind of helps with the as well. So these are called scoots, and it also helps with their protection. So underneath each one is a giant bone plate. So these guys are heavily armored. A lot of people just underestimate, how smart these guys are. There's always that common myth of you run in a zigzag pattern to get away from an alligator or crocodile. That is false. Run in a straight line. So these guys can move pretty fast when they're really motivated. So, and they are an apex predator for a reason. They are an ambush predator. So you may think they're slow, but they have a lot of power behind them.
Get it, Ron. Oh, that was less aggressive.
And that never gets old.
No.
There you go.
That was quite the experience. I'm not going to forget that anytime soon. Now, you can watch all of our Wild on Wayne stories anytime on WANE.com and join us every Tuesday on First at 5 on WANE TV for the latest story from the Fort Wayne Zoo. Thanks for joining us here on WANE 15 Plus.